Testing video, testing video. Da, 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 da. Hey guys, it's me, Jenna. So, alright, I just wanted to come on real quick before the actual video to give a quick disclaimer. First, the only reason I am making this video is because so many of you guys have asked me to do it. I don't consider myself to be an artist. I don't have any sort of formal training. I've taken a Skillshare class. I've looked at stuff on YouTube, on the internet, but I'm not formally trained at all. Everything I know, I have learned by doing, so I don't want you to think that the way that I'm doing something is necessarily the right way or the only way. I'm just going to show you how I do my little doodles. And big shout out to Karen from Doodle with Karen, because she's the one, her group is the group that really got me started on the path of creating this type of art. And so Karen, if you're watching this, thank you very much. You're awesome. So yeah, I hope that you guys find this useful, and I hope that it makes sense, because again, I might not know the words or the technical terms for things, but we'll see how it goes, yeah? Okay, let's draw. Okay guys, here we are. All right, so I went ahead and just did a basic outline because this isn't really a how to draw stuff video. It's more of a how to shade and color. So I have my background layer is white. I can turn that on and off right here. And then I have my drawing on its own layer. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 fingers, swipe down, and I'm going to copy and paste. That just creates a duplicate layer of my outline. So then I'm going to go to the bottom layer here, hide the top layer, and this is where you're going to do your basic coloring. So I know I want these cherries to be red, so I'm gonna maybe do a little bit of a brighter red. There we go. And then you touch this color blob thing and just pull the color down to where you want it. Touch, pull. And then I want a brown stem. And obviously the colors are going to be preference based on what you're drawing and how you like your images to look. So then I'm going to take a green for the leaves. And this is all on the same layer, the bottom layer. And the reason I turned off the top layer is because it is really easy to accidentally do this. See how that outlined my whole thing? And if I have this top layer on, I can't see that I did that. So 2 fingers, tap, undo. I don't want to accidentally color my outline. So, okay. Then I'm going to do the eyes. I think I'll do them this color. Like that. Okay. So now that I have all of my color, base color laid down on this layer, I'm going to turn my top layer back on, and then I'm going to create a new layer between them. So I have color layer, empty layer, outline layer. The reason that I do this is because if I want to shade the cherries, for example, let's go ahead and grab a white for now, go back to this center layer. If I have this top layer off, oops. If I have this top layer off, it looks like this. But if I have the top layer on, I'm painting under that layer. I hope that makes sense. I know layers can be confusing. I come from a background in Photoshop, so layers are really second nature to me. I'm going to try to explain as well as I can as I go, but a lot of this I just don't think about. So, all right, we've got our base layer, empty layer, top layer. So whenever I shade, I do it on this second layer. First though, I'm going to touch and hold to sample my cherry color. And then I'm going to go here to the classic right here. And then I'm just going to drag the color darker. And now I have a darker red that I'm going to be shading with. So I'm going to come over here. I have the soft airbrush tool selected. This is a tool that comes standard with Procreate, so it's not one that you have to purchase separately. It's in the airbrushing section right there. I just put it in my favorites because I use it all the time. So I have it set to about 70% opacity, and the size is going to vary depending on what you're trying to color in. So I'm going to just do like a forehead indentation. And you see I did a pretty solid line. I can do a soft shade like this, but for what I'm about to do, I want that solid. So then I'm going to go to my smudge tool. Same thing, soft airbrush. But this time I want it a little bigger. And I'm just going to grab and pull it down. And you see how it's making those lines? It's because usually this tool is used this way. So if you see that happening, you can kind of adjust it yourself. So now we have a little bit of an indent right here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my erase tool. I have it set to hard airbrush. I'm going to lower its opacity to about 20%. Make it pretty big. And I'm just going to swoosh along because I want this to be more of a gradient than it is. So I'm just taking out some of this bottom. Just like that. And then I always have to remember to put this back up or else I'll try to erase something and it won't work. So then I'm going to come, same brush over here and just add a little bit of dark shading on this side. Switch to my airbrush smudge tool. And this one I'm just going to kind of smooth out like that. So you see we're getting like some indentations like how a skull would have on the sides of the temples. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, a lot of this process is doing something, doing it again, doing it again, doing it again, until you're happy with how it looks, because there's a lot to this. So I'm just going to add a little bit of shade here. And mind you, this isn't the shadow shade yet. This is just adding a little bit of darker color to give it some dimension. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And I'm going to this time do it this way to try to pull it down. And then see how I have some color here? I'm just going to get my eraser and just pull it off. There is no color on this outline because this is my top layer.
Mommy doesn't want me to go in there.
And then you see how it came over the edge right here? You can clean this up at the end, or if you see it as you go. I will show you how I do that. I know that there is a way. Claudette, I know, mentioned a way that she can mask so that you're not coloring over the lines, but I haven't had any luck with that yet, so I just kind of do it that way. So now I'm going to go back to my color thing here, and I'm going to go brighter to get a more bright color. And then I'm just going to do a test swipe. I don't know if you can see that. It's very, very faintly brighter. So then I'll come over here and just drag this that way. There we go. And I'm just going to do a little bit like around right here, just to brighten that up just a smidge. And again, this is all just layering color. But having the background in photography, which is what I do, I have a pretty solid understanding of light and how it casts shadows, which really helps when you are shading. So like you have to picture, like if a flashlight was shining on this, where would the light be coming from and what would it be showing you? Okay, so that's good for those. I'm going to come and get a new layer because this is my cherry color. Now I want to work on my stem color. So I'm going to long press, get that brown, and this time I want to go lighter. And then I'm going to have a thinner brush and I'm just going to paint. I'm doing it really sloppy because as you use the airbrush, it smooths out your edges. Obviously, you don't want to just be, but just a little bit of jerkiness isn't a problem. And then I'll just do a little bit here and then come up this side. And because I'm working on a separate layer, I don't have to worry about accidentally doing anything over here because it's not going to touch the cherry color because the cherry colors are on a separate layer. All right, so that's a good start for our stems. So with the leaves, creating a new layer for the leaves, I'm going to touch my color here, but I want to go with a bit more of a bold green. And I'm going to do a little different this time. I'm going to get and just create like blocks of color. And then I'm going to pick another color. And then I'm going to take here my smudgy tool, make the brush big so that I can do sweeping motions like this. And then you see it gives it kind of a gradient because it's blending the colors together. And then say I'm like, oh, well, I want a little more dark over here. Then I would just come in with the brush tool, go back to my smudgy tool, and then we've got a little more of a darker color there. You can see all this green here. We'll take care of that later. So as of right now, I'm pretty okay with this. So I'm going to turn off my background layer because that makes it a lot easier to see where you overshot your color. And again, you guys, there is an easier way to do this. I'm just not learned, so I just do it this way, and I'm so used to it by now that it doesn't bother me. And I'm able to erase here because remember, I'm only on the leaf layer. You don't want to merge your layers together until you're sure you're done messing with them, because if all these were one layer, I would have to be a lot more careful with how I do this. So now I'm coming down to the stem layer. Not a whole lot of overshot here. I just want to make sure that I get it. And then pretty sure we already cleaned up the cherries. Okay, so now we have these three basic colors. And I'll show you what it looks like with and without what we've done so far. You see the difference? So now I'm going to select a new layer. I know, this is all about layers, right? And then we're going to start tossing down some black. Now, blacks obviously are going to be your shadows in your picture. I'm not shy when it comes to putting black into an image, especially because with the digital art like this, if you don't like it, you can undo it. But I like a really contrasty image, so I really go in with the blacks and make it happen. But it's really a matter of preference and also dependent on what you're drawing. You know, maybe you're drawing something really ethereal that needs more highlight than contrast. But I likes me some dark contrast. And you see I overshot down here. Again, not a big deal. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my smudgy tool. And again, I'm only using the airbrush for this just because that's what comes with Procreate. So I'm drawing that out. And if you're wanting to do a gradient, you don't want to pull down on your color like this. You want to sweep across like that. You see the difference? Okay, so let's pull this back. I have a cut on my finger right here that's not letting my two finger gestures work very well. So I'm going to put a little more color here and pull it down. There we go. And remember, you can always erase, so don't be afraid to experiment with color. So look at the difference. Obviously this one's got the black outline, but here, let's do this. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. And then I'll show you a highlighting trick to make something look really recessed. Okay, so I'm going to turn off this back layer. Actually, no, I'm not. It's easier to see the black with it on. So we've got that mostly cleaned up. And then you can come in here to this wand and adjust the opacity of these darks as well, because I think I'm going to bring them down just a little bit. And then I'm going to create, again, a new layer. Surprise. And this time I'm going to select white. So I want to add some highlight here. Maybe add a little over here. Some here. And then let's smudge it out. White goes a long way, guys. So don't think you got to go crazy on the whites. All right, so then I'm going to lower this opacity a little bit more. And then I'm going to show you that recess trick that I was just talking about. So I'm going to select my color, make it lighter, and then I'm just going to do a soft line right above the harsh line here. So like right there. And that makes it look like it comes up before it goes down. And that is Princeton. So, is this perfect? No. But it gets the point across. And it still technically falls into the food category for the food week. And I'm just going through and adjusting some of the colors a little bit. So let's do a that's what we're working with so far. So now I'm going to select a new layer and let's get started on these leaves. I'm not going to do a whole heck of a lot to these because I want the cherries to have the most impact in this drawing. But I am going to do a little bit of highlight and shadow. I always do highlights and shadows on separate layers because the color will get really muddy if you're trying to do black and white together. Okay, and then I'm going to merge all of them together, turn off my background, and erase my outlines. And then I'll show you also what it looks like with the top layer off, and the reason the top layer is so important in the way that I do it. Okay, so watch, I'm going to turn this top layer off. See how everything is kind of crossed over? All these leaf lines. But then you put your top layer back on and it's perfect. So then at this point I will turn off my background layer and export to PNG and just save it on my tablet. So I have a separate video showing how I turn these into stickers. I will post that in the description box. But that's basically it, you guys. That is how I do the majority of my shading. I'm not used to doing it on a table. Normally it would be like in my lap or on my drawing desk. So it's a little janky, but for a quick video, I suppose it'll do. All right, guys, if you have any other questions, let me know. And yeah, I will see you guys around. Bye.